I'm trying to get your side of the story, and by you acting like this, it's not helping, man.
Okay, and what is that about?
I posted a joke on the internet. I'm a live streamer.
You're like a YouTube channel?
Something? Yeah.
You're saying you're a white supremacist?
I'm not a white supremacist. I'm Mexican. I'm not saying Fuentes.
I know, I kind of
white supremacist.
I saw that.
All I'm going to say is I'm a high-profile person. I want someone stationed here. 20 people came by last night. I had paid security. They documented all of it.
Where's security?
I called. They're coming tonight at 7 o'clock.
Okay, with her.
340 at 1446.
No comment on that.
No comment.
Is pepper spray here or anything?
No comment.
Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, we do videos on creepy and disturbing things here, and back by popular demand is my next Iceberg series. I kind of thought you guys would get burnt out on these, but you still really seem to enjoy them, and one of the #1 feedback I get from people is that they love these series, so here we are. Welcome to the influencers who have resorted to committing crimes, Iceberg. This is an iceberg that I had this idea pop into my mind. I went to go look for it, assuming somebody had already made it, but alas, they hadn't. I could not find this iceberg anywhere, at least from my search. Nobody has made this iceberg, and so I am left once again to make it myself. The tip of this iceberg is influencers who have committed only petty crimes, so nobody was hurt, they were relatively harmless, probably won't get canceled over it, all the way down to the bottom of this iceberg where things get scary and we see the influencers who have either committed very atrocious abuse or violent crimes, and all the way down to the deepest tier, which of course is all the influencers who have committed murder. We're gonna get right into it. However, today's video is supported by a sponsor, so we're gonna roll that, but I'll be right back with you guys. So I have told you guys many times that I do not enjoy cooking. It is not something that brings me joy. Plus, I'm single, I live alone, so there's nobody to cook for or cook with. And then I plan meals and I go to the grocery store and I have to get the stuff for the meals, but it's just me, so I end up with way too much, so much food waste. So what happens after that is that I end up just buying a bunch of snacks and I'll live on those throughout the day, but then at night I'm starving for dinner, so I end up getting takeout. Left to my own devices, I will get takeout every single day, you guys. I'm not even kidding, it's so bad. This is not only not good for me and my health, but it's not good for my wallet, which is why I use today's sponsor, which is Hungryroot, because they help me eat healthy with my minimal cooking skills. Hungryroot is amazing because you tell them what you like and what you don't like, and they deliver a box of groceries right to your door so you don't have to shop, and it's based off of your preferences. You can build your own box or they can build it for you. What's really cool about Hungryroot is that they curate their recommendations to you over time. So the more you order, the longer you're with them. They get to know you better and better. Like a real friend, they get to know you over time, and they will curate your recommendations based on what they know. So like I touched on, Hungryroot already knows that I hate cooking, so they send me all of these really fun, delicious, healthy snacks, but they also send me these meals that can be prepared in like 10 to 15 minutes. They never send me anything that takes me longer than that. There's very minimal cleanup, so I get to cook and clean up every single meal in less than the time it would take for me to go and pick up my takeout anyway. Hungryroot also has no products that have high fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, or preservatives. All their meat and seafood is free of antibiotics and hormones, which I don't know about you, but that's really important to me. Hungryroot's standards are just really high. They're kind of food snobs, let's be honest. Take advantage of my exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Click the link below or go to hungryroot.com and use code HannahTheHorrible. That's 40% off your first box plus a free item of your choice for life when you go to hungryroot.com and use code HannahTheHorrible. Thank you again to Hungryroot for sponsoring today's video. We absolutely love them here, and let's get back into it. Okay, so I have to tell you guys about how this Iceberg series is going to go. It's slightly different than usual. This iceberg has 6 tiers. I'm going to do 2 tiers in each part. This iceberg series is going to be 3 parts. Tiers 1 and 2 today, tiers 3 and 4 next time, and tiers 5 and 6 last. As you know, I am fairly thorough in my icebergs, even though it's kind of a TLDR on most of them. I have a very long-winded TLDRs, and I do go into pretty significant detail, so it's going to be a thorough iceberg, which is why I'm breaking it up into those parts. And then I want to tell you about the structure of my iceberg personally. So I decided that this had to be modern times, nothing way back in the early 2000s. This is only crimes committed from 2013 onward, so in about the last 10 years. On this iceberg, I also added star symbols, and anybody with a star symbol next to their name on this iceberg means that it is alleged, means that they were either not convicted or actually went to prison for the crime, and it was just a bunch of people accusing them of doing this or suspicion that they did this with pretty good proof, yet we cannot say 100% that they did it. That is, of course, just to protect my legal ass, because it would make me sick to put somebody innocent on an iceberg like this. I would never accuse somebody of doing something without definitive proof, of course, but it's also to protect me. So if one of these creators did happen to see themselves on this iceberg and they claim their innocence, it's alleged. You would be shocked at how many on here I don't have to say alleged, though, because they were actually convicted or they self-admitted to doing it, or there's video proof that they did it. So the qualifications to be on this iceberg are also somewhat specific. The other thing I really didn't want was just a bunch of random people who posted a video one time in 2007 and then in 2017 they, killed somebody or they did something super heinous, and somebody could find a video of them online from many years ago. That's just not an influencer, in my opinion. A lot of people still call those YouTubers. That's not a YouTuber. That's not a content creator, in my opinion. Most people have a video of themselves somewhere being cringy when they were younger. So in order to be on this list, they had to have some sort of following. So they had to have a few thousand followers on one of the main social media platforms, at least a few thousand. Most of the people on this list had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subscribers, but they had to be that, or it was somebody who was trying very hard to become an influencer. They were posting consistently with the intent of going on to be an influencer and make a full-time living on it. So it had to be basically real influencers or aspiring influencers with at least a few thousand followers. Celebrities also do not count generally. There's only a couple exceptions to this rule that we'll explain as we go throughout the video, but I wasn't going to put a random celebrity that again committed a crime, because their social media is, they have a following because they're celebrity, not the other way around. Celebrities gain a natural following. That is not the same as posting cringe content for years on the internet to suddenly blow up with millions of subscribers and now you make a full-time living on it. I also want to be very, very clear that this is not an iceberg about influencers who are just bad people. That is not the same thing as committing a crime. There are plenty of influencers, many, like this list would never end if I included people that have said something racist or homophobic or are just generally problematic or are just generally assholes. For example, from my Patreons, I had somebody suggest that I put Micah Stouffer on, I think that's how you say it, Micah Stouffer on here. She, if you don't remember, she was the one that was very controversial for adopting a son from China. And then it turns out that he needed extra support and had unique needs. And so she basically reversed the adoption because she couldn't be bothered with this poor child. And if I remember correctly, she was also exploiting him for views. And when she found out she couldn't film an adoptive child for obvious reasons and privacy reasons, she also didn't like that. So she basically found an excuse to return him. Micah, not a great person. Total asshole. I don't like her. I think what she did was absolutely heinous. And I think that is a great example of family vlogging using children only for content. However, she did not technically commit a crime in terms of the law. This is an influencer who committed crimes, Iceberg, not a controversial or the most controversial influencers, Iceberg. Completely separate things, just to be clear. So with that, kind of piggybacking off of that, I also want to be clear that I might not touch on the problematic pasts of every influencer as I go down this iceberg. So when later in, I think it's going to be part 2, we talk about Mr. Beast and his alleged illegal lotteries or possible other scams, I'm probably not going to go into detail about Mr. Beast being a super sexist individual, in my opinion, having a very problematic past. Again, also just being kind of a shitty person who only cares about making money and nothing else in the entire world. I might not go into that because that's not relevant to the actual crime. So I might slip up here or there. Sometimes influencers make me so mad that I can't help but rant a little bit about how much I hate them for other irrelevant things. However, for the most part, just know that just because I don't say it on this iceberg doesn't mean I'm not aware of it, or doesn't mean that I think all that behavior is fine. Does that make sense? Mr. Beast is a perfect example because I might not go into his every little sexist thing that he's done, or just how he's just a problematic, not a good person in my opinion. That's just not relevant to this iceberg, so I'll only talk about the illegal lottery and other alleged crimes. Okay, and then as we look at the iceberg, remember I said stars means allegedly, means they haven't been convicted or it hasn't been proven definitively that they committed this crime. And I just want to also point out the color coding. So the turquoise is for TikTok, obviously, because TikTok, we kind of associate that turquoise color with TikTok. So that means that this person was a TikToker, primarily TikToker. Red, obviously, again, you can guess, means YouTube. Yellow is just an influencer, means I couldn't really fit them into a category. They were either primarily on X, or they were primarily on Twitch or Instagram, so kind of didn't fit into any of those categories. So that's what that means. And then last, I just want to give a huge thank you to the patrons who helped me with this iceberg, because as you know, making your own iceberg, it's really hard to find every single little thing that should be on there. I'm sure there's still something missing on this iceberg that you guys could tell me about, but I did ask my patrons if they would help me, if they wanted to do some investigating, if they had time. And as always, my patrons really came through for me because my patrons are amazing. So just want to give a verbal shout out: Jules 2.0, Moo Land, C Cryptid, Hannah, Victoria Huntley, Fairy M, Kismet, Jax, which I might be saying wrong, I'm so sorry, Maxie, Glasses McDork, Face, Christy Hutchins, Tolly, Annabelle's, Laura Winter, Oliver Callis, Karen Campos, James Potty, Sleeby, Misty Koenig, Lacey Loves Horror, and Quinn. Those were all of the patrons that helped contribute to this iceberg as well. Let me really quick go over the iceberg as well in the different categories. So at the very top tier, which we have not that many on, we have petty crimes. So I categorize those as people that committed a crime, that did something illegal, but they did not physically hurt anyone. The next tier, tier 2, a little lower down, we have menace to society. Those are people we categorize as we all hate you, but we've seen worse. Basically, this category, I do think that these people are redeemable if they kind of see the error of their ways and see that they were blinded by the clout. Tier 3, we have scammers. They pretty self-explanatory, exploiting their audience for money, pulling any kind of scam, either crypto or otherwise, that kind of stuff. You get it. So I consider that worse because they are actually harming people financially. Then tier 4, we have creeps, which I put in parentheses. You should probably be in jail. Basically, most of these are like allegedly, or it wasn't seen as bad enough under the eyes of the law for them to actually get prosecuted for it. But they have shown pretty creepy behavior. Again, they probably didn't physically carry out any of this behavior, thankfully, but still very just creepy groomers, that kind of thing. So then on tier 5, the second to last tier, we have just straight up abuse. This I put in parentheses, wait, why aren't you in jail? Because this tier is thick. This tier has probably the most entries in it, because this is a very common thing with people that have been canceled. These are people that have all been accused of with, you know, again, allegedly, but it probably happened kind of thing, because we have quite a bit of evidence, or quite a few people who have come forward. This is people that have done either, you know, child abuse, animal abuse, domestic violence, that kind of stuff. All this really, really, really terrible behavior. So then in the last tier, of course, is self-explanatory. We have murder. There are a couple people in this tier that are definitely attempted murder, but the intent was definitely murder. And then we have a couple of like second degree homicide kind of things. But regardless, all of the people in this tier ended because of their actions. It ended somebody's life, or got very close to ending somebody's life. So that will be part 3. Okay, I know that was a really long intro. Again, this first video is only going to be the very light 1 and 2 tiers, because I had to talk so much in the intros. I just realized I had to really lay this out before we get into it. So tier 1, petty crimes. Again, these are the influencers who committed crimes, but they didn't hurt anybody in the grand scheme of things. And I just don't consider these crimes super serious. And I just think they're redeemable, and or they made a mistake. Marlena Velez is first. This one is actually pretty recent. A lot of you have probably heard about this if you're in the TikTok drama sphere at all. Marlena is a 22-year-old TikToker with 458,000 followers on TikTok. She has 2 children, I believe, and she does a lot of... She's like cliche influencer, in my opinion. Like, she just looks exactly cookie cutter what an Instagram model and what an Instagram influencer looks like, except she's mostly on TikTok. She does lifestyle. She shows you how pretty she is. She does a lot of minimalist content and hauls, little vlogs. Her house looks super clean in spite of the fact that she's a mom of 2 young children, which seems impossible, but okay. And then she shows her kind of clean girl aesthetic is a lot of it as well. Very much that like my life is perfect type of trope. Anyway, just a couple months ago in November of 2024, she got caught stealing from Target. And I didn't put allegedly on this one because she was arrested. She's never come forward to deny anything. She's liked comments of people saying like, hey, everyone makes mistakes. And most damning, there's video evidence of her doing this. This went super viral because she made a vlog out of the Target haul that she stole. So she shoplifted, vlogged the entire thing, shoplifted from this Target, and then later filmed the haul and posted it publicly on TikTok. Of course, that video has now been taken down. The way she did this, it's not like she just walked out of the store with a cart full of stuff. The way she did this was taking advantage of self-scan. So she would go to the self-checkout with her giant cart full of hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise. And she had this barcode from another Target item that was a very cheap item, and so she would go through self-checkout, pretend to scan every item in her cart, but she was really covering the scan or really scanning the really cheap barcode so that it would still ring up the same amount of stuff. It would look like she was paying, but she actually was paying way less, hundreds of dollars less than what she should have. She wasn't actually scanning the barcodes. I worked at TJ Maxx for about a year when I was in college. And let me tell you that we see this kind of stuff all the time. We didn't have self-scan back then. I don't think TJ Maxx still has self-scan, but people did this thing where a lot of the time they would switch tags. That was one of the most common tactics because, again, it wasn't like you were like overtly just walking out of the store with something. You'd go through the checkout and try to get the retail worker to scan an item that was way cheaper. They would switch the tags in the store, go up to the checkout, and then hope that the retail worker wouldn't notice. So a big one was the purses. A lot of people would take a Michael Kors bag and put like a $20 tag on it from something else in the store, and they'd put like a $20 tag on it and remove the probably, I think it was like $69.99 for a Michael Kors bag kind of thing. This was often stupid. They often didn't get away with it. I'm sure they did sometimes, but they often don't, because the retail workers, like, they're in the store all the time. They know how much that stuff is supposed to be. They are well aware that a Michael Kors bag is not $19.99, first of all. Second of all, on the tag, there is little codes on the tag that tells you that we could read how much an item was, what department it was from. So we knew that if your purse, your $19.99 price tag for this really expensive purse had a 5 on it, let's say, we would know that 5 is like the snack section, or it was like home or kitchen. You know, I'm just using that as an example, but we knew the department based where it should be in the store based on the tag. So I'm telling you all that because, like, don't be stupid. I'm telling you all that because I'm just telling you retail workers are trained on those things. So we are aware, and we'll look at you and be like, and it's not that we care. It's just that we'll get in trouble if we don't do something about it. So that was a common tactic. And all's that to say is that Marlena, this was very clever of her, but the cameras can pick up everything. They are looking at everything, and they have her on camera doing this, and it's very obvious what she's doing. So Target called the police. The police came, looked at the security footage, and then they posted a picture of this person online showing them stealing from Target, and somebody very quickly identified her by comparing that picture to the vlog and seeing she was wearing the same clothes and everything like that. And then shortly after that, it came out that there was proof of 2 dates where she was stealing from the same Target on at least 2 separate occasions. Of course, she deleted that haul video. She was arrested. There's a mugshot of her out there, but she seems to be back online. She's posting like normal. So I put her at the highest tier because this is really not that big of a deal to me. Like I said, she's really not my type of content creator, but I don't hold this against her whatsoever. I don't know. I just don't think that stealing is that big of a deal. I think most people have done it at some point in their life, or some people have that like kind of compulsion to do it, you know, the whole like kind of sticky fingers thing. And honestly, I mean, I could never do this because I'm not a good liar. My anxiety could never. Even when I can't relate to this, I can't really like be that mad at her. She didn't hurt anyone. And also, it's just really hard to feel bad for the CEO of Target, who is the only one hurt in this situation, let's be honest. And he is making tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars every year. I couldn't find his exact net worth because it was different on every website, but a lot of websites were saying that his net worth is like 100 million. Some said as low as 50 million. Either way, he has millions and millions of dollars, and it is very hard to feel bad for the 1% in any situation. And many people shared my sentiment. A lot of people were like, fuck capitalism. I mean, whatever. A lot of people are forgiving and were just like, hey, you made a mistake. I get it. Just move forward and don't. The people that were upset, I don't think they were upset because they were sad for Target. I don't think anybody was sad for Target. I think a lot of people were just understandably upset because she was portraying this life that she had all this money and everything. And then it made people wonder, like, are you just pretending to have all this money, but you're actually stealing stuff? Which, again, we don't know. I mean, a lot of influencers are in massive debt and they just pretend like they're not to keep up that lifestyle in order to keep up their followers and views. But like the Ace family, you know, going bankrupt because they didn't know how to handle their money after making so much. A lot of influencers, even if they made a lot of money at one point, they still don't know how to spend their money, don't know how to save their money. So they do end up poor. So that could be the case. Or she could make a lot of money, be completely well off, have no money issues, but she just has a mental health thing, or she has something in her life that is making her act on these impulses to do it. And it's not about stealing, it's about the feeling she gets from doing something, you know, against the law. Like that kind, there could be a myriad of reasons for somebody to steal. And so I don't necessarily think that means that she's like super poor in secret or something like that, or that her entire social media is a lie. And like I touched on, she didn't hurt anybody. The retail workers, I can promise you, don't give a shit. If any of the retail workers did anything about it, it was simply because they would get in trouble if they hadn't reported it. So overall, thought this one was funny. Okay, moving on to the next one on the top tier. This might be a controversial opinion on them being so high up. I'll be really interested. People are probably going to get mad at me for this one and think they should be higher down, and or some people might get mad at me for my opinions on this one. But this next one is, I think it's pronounced Rakhy and MeliMacBarbie. I think MeliMacBarbie's right. I'm not sure if I'm saying Rakhy right. Rakhy? Maybe it's Rakhy. These are two women. They're in yellow because they are primarily influencers on Instagram. Raquel Antiola, aka Rakhy online, she has over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and Melissa Dufour has 11,000 followers on Instagram, and she goes by MeliMacBarbie. In June 2023, the two women were in a car together and they were stopped on an interstate in a routine traffic stop. There was some sort of, you know, small violation, and so the police pulled them over. But unfortunately for them, the police officer had a canine unit. Yeah, and the canine unit very quickly alerted the officer to possible narcotics in the car. Melissa, who was allegedly the driver, was already on the phone with her lawyer before they even got out of the car. She even had her lawyer talk to the police officer, but it didn't sway. I think they were kind of trying to scare the police officer into not searching the car, to kind of pretend like he's going to get in trouble without a warrant and stuff. But I don't think police need a warrant unless if there's probable cause. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure if your drug sniffing dog smells a car and alerts the officer that there's something in that car, I'm pretty sure the police officers are allowed to search you at that point. I think that's probable enough cause for them to search. So anyway, I'm sorry. The police officers searched the car and they proceed to find 217 pounds of cocaine. 217 pounds. They estimated originally $3 million worth of cocaine. It could have been as low as $2 million worth. Regardless, a shit ton of crack in this car. And the reason the police officers, it's not like it was just laying in the back seat. The car had been modified to hide all this cocaine, which is a pretty good indication that these ladies have probably done this before. There was the back seat and the floorboards and the sides, and I think even the glove compartment were all hollowed out underneath. They put all the cocaine in hollowed out in those spots and then covered it back up so that if you're just looking with the naked eye, you couldn't see anything in the car. However, of course, again, just quite unfortunately for them, they had a canine unit with them when they got pulled over. So the two women got arrested and charged with drug trafficking as well as intent to distribute. Both Raquel and Melissa took plea deals. They pleaded guilty and they got 2 and 3 years in prison respectively. I believe Melissa got 3 instead of 2 because she was driving the car. So that's where these two ladies are. They are in prison right now. They will hopefully get out soon though. Hopefully get out before they serve their full term. Maybe they'll get parole. It would make sense they got prison time. This wasn't like they just had a little packet, a little ounce of cocaine in their glove compartment that they were taking to a party. You know, it was very clear that they had intent to sell and distribute this. So why am I laughing? Why is this on the highest tier? Because I am very much, you guys, this my opinion won't shock you, but I still think some people are going to be mad at me, which that's fine. You can be mad at me all you want. This is definitely more of a how you look at this kind of thing situation, but I am very much of the belief that criminalizing drugs is not helpful in our society. I think that our system is inherently racist, as it is with most things, and it unfairly prosecutes and gives more time to people of color and Black people. So that in itself itself is enough for me to not like the way that the drug system is. But I have also, again, and I'm not an expert on this either, so like I'm not gonna talk about this and go into detail as if I know, but from my understanding, decriminalizing drugs would pretty much more or less solve the war on drugs. It's the fact that it's illegal, that there's so much trafficking and there's gangs that need to distribute it around the world, which results in a lot of violence. That's because the drugs are illegal in the first place. My understanding, again, is that decriminalizing drugs doesn't mean that we would make them available. It doesn't mean that you could go on Amazon and buy heroin or cocaine. I don't think that that's what that means. I just think that it means that if you get caught with them, you are not going to get jail time. So it's not as risky. So it's not as taboo, so that all this criminal activity and the violence that goes with it goes down as well. The resources the government would have for decriminalizing drugs is immense. Imagine how many tens of millions of dollars go into the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and how much police officer court time is given to non-violent drug offenders. All of that money and resources could be put into, I don't know, let's think here, mental health facilities, rehabilitation centers, safe injection sites, rehabilitation for criminals. I don't know, maybe helping poor people so that they don't feel like they have to resort to selling drugs in the first place. Not saying that these two women were poor, but I just mean in general. I just think that criminalizing drugs and doing this kind of shit, arresting and putting these women in prison and stuff, is treating a symptom of a very large disease that the government created in the first place. Whereas if we put all those resources into actually fixing the root of the problem and the disease, it's, you know what I mean? So that's why I really just don't see these women as bad people. I don't condone this, of course, like distributing that much drugs like could end up in hurting somebody because you are enabling somebody to overdose or take those drugs. But I also don't know the story of why these women felt desperate enough to do this or the story behind it. And I just, yeah, all the things I already said, but that is why my take on this is just not as demonizing them as I think many other people would. Okay, and then there's only one more on tier 1. I'm sure I missed some, but it's really interesting that most influencers who have committed crimes are definitely categorized in the deeper tiers. Not a lot of petty crimes out there. So Katie Sigmond is next. Katie Sigmond is a TikToker with over 7 million followers on TikTok. In October of 2022, she went to the Grand Canyon and filmed herself hitting a golf ball. I think she's a golfer, and hit a golf ball into the Grand Canyon, like just over the side. And then she lost a grip of the golf club, and also part or all of the golf club also went flying into the Grand Canyon. This is illegal, obviously, because it's littering, first of all, littering on a national beautiful monument, first of all. And then, of course, it's also really dangerous if somebody was hiking or the wildlife down there. She could have hit one of those with a golf ball and seriously injured someone or an animal or even killed them. She was charged. She ended up with a little slap on the wrist. She had to pay a whopping $285 fine. To me, this is an example of another entitled influencer who thinks she can go around and do whatever she wants in public or national landmarks because she's pretty and privileged and can get away with shit like this. And she did. $285 fine was probably 10 cents to her. The reason I'm also a little bit like nasty to this person is because a lot of people, or several people I found on Reddit, claim to have gone to either middle school or high school with this person as well, with Katie Sigmond, and they said that she's just kind of not a nice person. Like they said she was a real mean girl in high school and stuff like that. So it kind of just matches up with the story I already have in my head of her like going to the Grand Canyon and being super entitled and just being like, I don't have to play by the rules of society because I'm pretty. So yeah, maybe that That might be a wound for me from high school, from all the popular girls that were never nice to me in high school. That might be me projecting that deep-seated wound onto Katie, but regardless, yeah. So again, just stupid. Still, I was fair, even though I don't like her. I was still fair. I put her at the very top of this iceberg because I really don't think, she didn't hurt anyone, thankfully. And in the grand scheme of things, this was a mistake, and hopefully she learned from it. Before we move on to tier 2, I want to take 30 seconds to let you guys know that I do have new merch out. I don't know if you've noticed this sweater that I'm wearing. I guess I should uncover it from my hair. This new merch launch was not with my artist. I made these myself. So I have this sweater that I'm wearing says Future Poltergeist, and there's a little ghost right there. And I have it to go along with another similar design that I have that says Future Ghost. Adorable, right? Future Ghost, Future Poltergeist. So depending on how mischievous you are in your living life, you get to pick what you're going to be in the afterlife. And then I also have a very long-awaited little peeking ghost. This is my peeking ghost design that I made. And if you guys know, it's an inside joke on my channel, as we always talk about in the paranormal debunking videos, about how all the ghosts and demons in all the TikTok videos are always peeking around the corner and then quickly coming back. That's kind of a long-standing inside joke on my channel. So I made a cute little ghost for it. Cute little ghost peeking around the corner in the doorway. So I have that. And then we also have this exact same design, except it does have, I have relented, it does have a HannahTheHorrible on it on top. This, I wasn't going to do this. It just seems so self-involved to me to put your channel name on stuff, which is why I've never done it. I've never been a fan of YouTube merch, which is just their name or whatever, just personally, but it is really cute. And I did it because many people have asked me for it. Several people have said that they do want my channel name on their t-shirt. So here it is for you. This is the Peeking Ghost, but it has HannahTheHorrible written on it, if you would like that. But I wanted to do it in a way that you could pick. So you could do this, or you could do the one with the Peeking Ghost without my channel name if you don't want my channel name on there, which is totally fine as well. All of these designs can be found below. There's a little link to my merch shop right below this video, and it should be on any video of mine that you see. So if you want to pick any of these up, they are there for you if you like them. Okay, let's get back into it. All right, moving on to tier 2, the menace of society. Menace to society is this tier, and this is categorized by influencers who have committed crimes. They're super annoying. We all hate you. You're cringe. Unless you're a 12-year-old boy, you probably hate everybody in this tier. And again, it's mostly like you committed crimes. They're a little bit more severe than petty crimes, but like, again, like you're redeemable in the long scheme of things. Like you could come back from this. Maybe you could change your ways kind of thing. We've seen worse, right? But this tier is going to piss you off because everybody on this tier, a lot of this tier is YouTube pranksters. Yeah, a whole genre of video that most people, again, unless you're a 12-year-old boy, hate these types of videos. So let's start off strong with Trevor Jacob. Trevor has over 142,000 subscribers on YouTube and 125,000 on Instagram. The only reason he is known is not for the reasons he wanted to be known, and the reason he's known is also why he made it on this iceberg. In November of 2021, he took his little plane by himself on a trip, supposedly to scatter his friend's ashes. Weirdly, in the video, he was already wearing a full parachute while he was flying this little plane, which my understanding is that this is not standard practice. But while he was flying, the engine stopped running and he, was gonna crash. Oh no. So he had to make a little emergency exit out of the plane, open the door, and parachuted out of the plane to safety with very minor injuries. The plane crashed into the forest, and Trevor would claim that the engine had failed on him. It was later discovered, though, that Trevor did this as a publicity stunt for YouTube. He wanted to go viral on YouTube, and he wanted to make money. This video of his had been sponsored by Ridge Wallet, and he had an affiliate link connect it to the sponsor. So if you guys don't know, I don't generally do this on my channel, but a lot of influencers, they are not only paid to work with the brand, but the brand will also give them an affiliate link. So the person will make a base rate from the brand, but then they will also get affiliate money from any sales that they make. So it's basically incentive to make the ad as compelling as possible and get you the video you put their ad on as many views as possible, because then not only will you make the money from the brand from the sponsorship, but you will also make affiliate commission off of any sales from it. The only time I have done this once, and it was from Liquid IV a couple years ago, which I made like, I think not like $70, I want to say, off my affiliate. So it wasn't that much, but I haven't done it since. None of the sponsors on my channel give me affiliate links. They pay me to talk about them. I am sponsored by them, but then I'm not like making extra money every time one of you guys clicks on their link or anything like that. But it is something that is seen in the creator space, and that is what Trevor Jacob did. Ridge had this affiliate link for him to make commissions off of, so he wanted a video to go super viral, and he wanted it to be compelling of enough scenario, like people would feel bad for him for almost crashing his plane and dying. Near-death experience is going to be more compelling for people to then use his sponsorship, and he could kind of do the angle of like, help me pay for the wreckage, or help me buy a new little plane for more videos. I don't know if that's what he did, but you know what I mean. You get it. So he did that specifically so that the sponsorship would make him a lot of money, but also just wanted to go viral on YouTube. So he did this little stunt. In the video, he hikes back to the plane crash. So he hikes back to where his plane is because he wants to get the cameras. He was filming himself the entire time in the plane. He wanted to get the cameras and go check out what had happened. And he put this in the vlog, but that was a huge mistake and honestly kind of what got him caught.
Oh my gosh. It's never felt so good to see and taste water.
It's going on 31 minutes. I feel so alone.
He does go report this crash to the FAA. Anybody flying a plane is going to be monitored by the FAA. You still get connections to ground control. If you're flying anywhere, they have to know about all the little planes too, so they don't interrupt or get in the way or crash with commercial planes. You know what I mean? And so he does report this to the proper authorities, and the authorities told him, okay, well, leave the wreckage the way it is because it's like kind of a crime scene in a way, and we want to go and investigate the wreckage. We want to see how the plane failed, and we want to document everything. I don't know if they were suspicious already. Something about it was just not quite right. Jacob, when they tell him to not touch the wreckage because they're going to go investigate it, Jacob's like, oh, well, I don't know where it is. I don't remember where the plane crashed, even though he had hiked to it after it had crashed. He knew exactly where it was, and he had it on video. The United States Forest Services, however, had found out, I don't know how they found this out, but they told, the US Forest Service tells the FAA that the wreckage was mysteriously gone, that all of a sudden it was gone. No trace of it. It was gone before he posted his video to YouTube, interestingly enough. So the first kind of red flag was that Trevor was wearing a parachute to get into the plane. I don't think it's customary for pilots to just wear a parachute when they're flying private planes. Maybe there's parachutes in the planes, I'm not positive, but it's not typical for a pilot to, even on a private plane, to be wearing a full parachute suit. And then a pilot would also, again, from my understanding, I am not an aviation expert, but from my understanding, a pilot would also, this is not protocol, to just like jump out of the plane if your engine supposedly fails. You are trained to try to restart the engine first. That would be like your first thing to see if you could get it going so that you could safely land. If that failed, you would definitely call air traffic control because they could probably help you land or find a safe place to land. And with that, you would also, there were safe places to land. Like he was in a very remote forest kind of thing. He probably could have done it. You would have attempted an emergency landing. All of this kind of backed him into a corner, and he did finally plead guilty and admitted to investigators what he had done. Trevor did admit to going back and having the wreckage cleaned up. And he like really went through the trouble of hiding the evidence. Like he had that plane cut into pieces and destroyed. He did end up pleading guilty because he took a plea deal. He didn't get too much time. He ended up with 6 months in prison, which he served at the beginning of 2024. So he is out and a free man as of today, but did serve a full 6 months. And of course they revoked his pilot's license. So yeah, I put Trevor in Menace to Society because again, this isn't the worst thing. Like this was just kind of a crappy thing to do. And it was kind of like a ploy to go viral, faking stuff to go viral, except to the extreme. But in the end, he didn't hurt anybody. He could have hurt somebody. He'd be lower on this list if he had, but thankfully he did not. Mizzy is next. Again, this is one that it might not be ringing a bell, but once you see it and I start explaining it, it will probably ring a bell and you'll know who I'm talking about. Mizzy is primarily a TikToker and he is a prankster, but really he just goes around committing crimes. I cannot stand Mizzy. I cannot stand this child. He is so obnoxious to me. This is like the epitome of why everybody hates public live streamers and a lot of influencers. He's gone viral several times just for walking into people's homes during the day, acting like he's supposed to be there, and then playing dumb when the homeowner, of course, gets angry or panics. He also went viral when he goes up to this old woman in a park. He grabs her dog and runs away with it. The footage of this is so sad. The poor dog is so confused. Thankfully, in the end, the dog was not harmed. He did eventually go back to the woman and return the dog to the woman himself and talk to her. But he clearly picked this woman because he knew that she was too old to run after him. Like, he chooses vulnerable people on purpose, which is just so sick to me. And I also get really mad at people that scare people without their consent and actually make people think that something really bad is happening or that even that they're gonna die. And it's just sick to me. I just don't understand it. If someone did this to Winnie, if someone came up to me and tried to steal Winnie, I'd be in jail. Let's just put it that way. The other incident that was even sicker than this, if you can believe it, is that he also approached women at night so they're in the dark, they're alone, like at a bus stop, and he goes up to them, touches their hair without their permission, and then says, "Do you want to die tonight?"
You got some nice hair. It's nice and luscious. I'm perfectly fine. What, do you want to die? Huh?
This makes me, I don't know how, but it makes me even more mad than the dog thing, because this is just, I cannot fucking stand misogyny like this, where men play into women's natural fear. We're already scared of men. It's already hard for us to be alone. It's not like we're like living in constant fear, but when we're out and we're alone, yeah, we're very aware of our surroundings. We are very aware that we are vulnerable to crimes and are more likely to have something very, very physically bad happen to us than men and other people. Like, we're already, and to use that to prank, to use that specifically to scare a woman who's already vulnerable, who's already at night and alone, is fucking disgusting to me. To go up to a woman and make her feel like she's gonna get hurt, to make her feel like you're gonna hurt her, how is that funny? That is not a prank. That's not funny to anybody. Mizzy is also a man. He has no idea what that fear feels like. And this is stuff that women deal with on a daily basis, and we don't know when you're joking or not. So it's just not fucking funny. Mizzy tried to defend himself. Of course, he's been arrested many times. He always tries to defend himself. It says like, "Oh, I was raised by a single mom and I had a really hard upbringing. I had a really hard childhood, you guys, blah, 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 blah." Okay. A lot of people have had really hard childhoods and they don't go on to terrorize random strangers. He's been arrested many times. He's gone to jail many times. There's been other incidents like other than this, including like stealing a random woman's phone. He has been in and out of prison several times. After getting out of prison for the most recent time last year, Mizzy has done interviews and said that he is ready to turn his life around. And he says that he's going to be a better person and realizes like how cringe all that stuff was, which I just don't buy. I just doubt it. I'll believe it when I see it. Like, again, I don't think he's irredeemable ever or anything like that. I do hope that he's telling the truth and that he turns his life around or gets help, because honestly, it's normal people don't do shit like this. You need therapy. You need help. You need somebody to work through this shit. Or if you had such a hard upbringing and you think that's why you do shit like this, then you need therapy to work through that and figure this out, because terrorizing people, taking it out on other people is not it, sir. I realize that he's young, but he's still an adult. He's still accountable for his actions. He's still responsible for everything he's done. So I do really genuinely hope that he means it and that he actually sees what the harm is that he did. Okay, Trollstation is next. This is another prank channel on YouTube. They have 1.4 million subscribers. It's another channel with very, very obnoxious pranks that they often put under the disguise of like social experiments. Their major crime was back in 2015 when 4 members of the YouTube channel staged a robbery prank at the National Portrait Gallery, as well as staging a kidnapping at the Tate Britain, which is another art gallery. They were all dressed up as robbers and carried fake paintings. They set off the alarm. It caused everybody to panic and a lot of people to run away in fear. It was just a mess. They all served several months in jail for this incident. RossCreations is next. RossCreations also has 1.4 million subscribers on YouTube. However, their other channel, Vlog Creations, has like over 5.5 million subscribers. RossCreations has been arrested over 6 times. He's impersonated police officers, he has stolen stop signs, and as recently as 2024, he was charged and was found guilty of trespassing. Again, all of these related to filming pranks for YouTube for clout. It's all these fucking prank channels. Like, when do they realize that nobody likes you? We all hate you. You are such a menace. We all cannot stand you. You're cringe. You're embarrassing. You're just annoying. Nobody likes you except for 12-year-old boys watching this content. And if that's the audience that you purposely curate and tailor your content to, that's weird in itself. Okay, so staying on the influencer prankster sphere, let's talk about Johnny Somali. Johnny Somali is a live streamer, but he was actually kicked off of Twitch, like permanently banned on Twitch, I believe, and he has since moved over to Kick, but I believe he was either banned on Kick, at least temporarily as well. He gets banned all the time. He is very famous for his pranks specifically done overseas, so he travels and then terrorizes the people of that country as an American tourist instead, which that's just lovely. Thank you very, very much for reinforcing the American tourist stereotype that we are obnoxious, loud, annoying assholes. Because of people like you, it shows that many of us are here in America. Anyway, so Johnny Somali would also go to very conservative countries such as Japan and South Korea, where the culture there is much more conservative in terms of being more quiet and to yourself, and not being an idiot like this out in public is just not as common. And at least here in America, I feel like when people do this out on the street, people are more likely to either tell you to shut up, or they will just simply ignore you, or just roll their eyes and just, you know what I mean? Or even call the police. And in countries like this, I feel like it's even worse because a lot of people don't really know what to do. So in Japan in August of 2023, Johnny went to a construction site in Osaka and yelled Fukushima to the workers, which if you know what that means, you know how disrespectful and terrible that is. He was arrested for trespassing. This charge was later dropped though. Then in September, he and his friend went into a restaurant in Japan and played loud music and noises from their phones, and they were arrested and charged with conspiracy of obstruction of business, basically disturbing the peace charges in layman's terms. He had to pay a fine that was equivalent to $1,400 in that scenario. In April of 2024, he went to the Western Wall in Jerusalem and put photos of Harvey Weinstein, Adin Ross, and Jeffrey Epstein on the wall, at the Western Wall in Jerusalem, and said that Weinstein was one of his top, and I'm quoting here, these are not my words. He said that Weinstein was, quote, one of his top Jews. He was arrested and banned for 50 days. Then later that year in September, he went to South Korea, where he would go around and play North Korean music very loudly on the streets or in public spaces, or he would play Kim Jong-un speeches loudly again, just to try to offend people and disturb the peace again. In October of 2024, though, it got even worse when he goes up to the Statue of Peace and he started kissing it and giving it lap dances. If you don't know, the Statue of Peace in South Korea is a little memorial to commemorate the women that were forced into sex slavery during World War II for the Japanese soldiers. They are also often referred to as comfort women. This little charade got him completely banned from YouTube, even though he tried to defend it by being like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that statue was so important. I didn't know the significance of the statue. I'm just a baby. I don't know what I'm doing. He has pulled other similar stunts in South Korea as well, and has gotten in so much legal trouble that he, as far as I understand, he's on a travel ban there. So they're holding him in South Korea until he is tried for all of his crimes there. He's not allowed to leave the country until he is held responsible for what he's done, which his trial keeps getting postponed. So it's postponed until March of 2025 is what I could find on the most recent information on there. So yeah, he's stuck in South Korea because he's not allowed to leave, which I find hilarious. Not because it's probably bad to be in South Korea. I'm sure it's beautiful there, and I'm sure it's very, very, like, it's probably not the worst place to be stuck, but the fact that he's not allowed to go and travel and do all this other keep pranking and being a nuisance in order to get more views is very funny to me, because he's probably not happy about the situation. He has also been beaten up for his antics before. People have set out bounties, kind of like, hey, I'll pay money if anybody can tell me Johnny Somali's location. You know what that implies, that kind of thing. Random people, when he's live streaming in public places, random people will recognize him, and he has been assaulted before. Like, some people just straight up hit him for being such a nuisance. He is not a loved or respected man whatsoever by almost anybody. And while of course I would never condone violence or assaulting somebody, I also just have to say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Sniperwolf is next, or SS Sniperwolf, or Sniperwolf. I'm just gonna call her Sniperwolf. Most of us are up to speed on this one, right? We're gonna talk about it anyway. Sniperwolf is primarily a YouTuber, but she does have a following pretty much everywhere. Millions of followers on most platforms. She's most known for her quote-unquote reaction videos, but she has been called out specifically by another creator named Jax Films. He really called her out in July of 2023, but he started this parody channel of hers called Jax Films in 2022. Jax Films has basically been calling Sniperwolf out for the past few years for just how lazy her videos are, how she's making millions and millions of dollars. Like, every video of hers gets over 1 million views, again, probably mostly from children. And I can't explain to you guys how much money this woman is probably making. She makes so much money. She could retire, I am confident. 1 million views on YouTube is thousands and thousands of dollars in revenue just for one video. And that doesn't count her other social media platforms. She makes gobs of money, which the reason that that is significant is because she makes gobs of money basically off of something called freebooting, where she pretends like she's doing fair use or transformative content, but she's really not at all. So she just reacts to videos with minimal commentary. She just reacts to the best TikToks and goes, oh, wow, or just like commentates on what is happening in the video.
This dude bought a watermelon and then tried to put it in his motorcycle storage. Yeah, this ain't gonna fit. So, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna sit on this watermelon and take the top off. I mean, you couldn't hold the watermelon. I feel like there was a better way to do this.
Just if you don't know, for fair use, in order to use somebody else's content, it has to be transformative. Fair use has to have a reason. So I think an example would be like my TikTok videos. I can't make those videos without showing you guys the content I am reacting to and then adding commentary to, right? So I show you guys the video, we watch it together, and then I do commentary on why I think it's fake or specifics about the video on why I think that this was set up or how they possibly did it. It's necessary to show you the other person's content in that video because otherwise you wouldn't know what I was talking about without it. And then I transform the content for social commentary. Lots of creators do that. Without fair use, 99% of creators would be out of a job, right? So fair use is very important. But there's people like Sssniperwolf that take advantage of that system and take advantage of the fact that the vast majority of people are not going to copyright strike you if they're little creators on TikTok, or they're not going to, you know, they don't have the money to sue you, and they know that you could sue them right back because you are, you know, because Sssniperwolf's a multimillionaire. So anyway, so Jax Films has been calling her out for not only not crediting verbally, not crediting in the description, and then often cutting out the person's username on TikTok in many of her videos, and then also just like using the videos to show people, like she knows that people just sit down and watch the compilation of the TikToks with her, even though she's not adding anything to it. So basically just lazy content and stealing content and making a ton of money off of other people's content. That's the accusation. And I mean, it's not alleged because there's hundreds of videos of her doing this exact thing. So this is arguably a crime because it's copyright theft. It's theft of content, but that's not why she's on this Iceberg, because there's a lot of React channels that do something similar to what she does, or we see it on TikTok all the time, people reposting ghost videos all the time and claiming them as their own or not crediting the original creator and stuff, and then making a huge following, if not also making money off it. We see it all the time. This Iceberg, that could be a whole iceberg on its own, honestly. The reason she's on this is because Sssniperwolf got really, really mad at Jax Films calling her out, and then she tried to deflect and tried to accuse him of just being sexist, how he doesn't call out male reactors even though he does, and everybody else does too. It's not because she's a woman. Sorry, Sssniperwolf. As a woman and as somebody who considers themselves a feminist, I can tell you right now, it's not because you're a woman. Stop trying to deflect and make people feel sorry for you. So anyway, we all see where this is going. The reason she's on this Iceberg is for the doxing incident of Jax Films, because she was so mad, she was so sick of it because she didn't like this negative attention on her. So her studio where she films was just in the neighborhood of where Jack lives. She got his address, which we don't really know how. She claims that it was just readily available with 2 minutes of Googling, but nobody really thinks that's true. She got his address. She posts a picture of Jack's house and the caption that says, "Let's talk like adults." So that's a threat. I don't see how that could be construed in any other way. I'm sorry. Somebody takes a picture of your house, posts it publicly to tell people that even though I didn't give you my address, I know where you live and I'm here, and let's talk like adults. That's threatening. If a man did this to a woman, we would 1000% consider that a threat. Even though it was quickly taken down, it was too late. And then pretty soon after that, she writes on her Instagram stories, "This creep has been harassing me for months," and then plays victim, saying I threatened him when I just wanted to talk to him. "I have no ill intentions. It's so sad when people have to constantly create drama to pay their bills." That's also what everyone says when they're called out. They just like claim the person just wants clout, or they're just using their name for views, which again is not the case. Jack's Films gets lots of subscribers and lots of views with or without Sssniperwolf. So again, this is just deflection, and this is just manipulation. Telling him that he's playing the victim when what is so ironic, because she's playing the victim here. She's accusing him of harassment when this is not harassment. You are harassing him, Sssniperwolf, not the other way around. And obviously doxing in most states is illegal. And even if it's not illegal, posting a picture of somebody's house publicly without their permission, I think you could find a crime in there somewhere. But in most states, it is illegal to dox someone. Anyway, so Sssniperwolf handled this terribly, made herself even more unlikable than she already was, and YouTube also handled this terribly. YouTube posted on Twitter about how we're disappointed in both sides of this, and blamed Jack's Films for this as well, even though Jack didn't do anything wrong in this situation. I cannot figure out how he did something wrong. Like maybe a little excessive in calling somebody out and making fun of somebody for doing something wrong over and over. But that's the internet. That's not illegal. That's not harassment. He's not sending people after her to DM her over and over and tell her what a terrible person she is. Literally, he was trying to just get her to change her behavior. So it's like, even if it was a little excessive, YouTube says like both sides were very naughty because Sssniperwolf is one of their golden children. You know, YouTube does tend to treat creators differently based on how much money they're making for the platform. Hence why Mr. Beast has never been demonetized for all of that shit, and why other big creators are not demonetized when they're bringing in millions and millions of views. YouTube makes a lot of money, so YouTube is going to what? Oh, what's happening when stuff like this happens? Because they don't want to turn off monetization for somebody bringing them in so much money. You cannot convince me otherwise. It's really gross. Anyway, after a lot of public pressure, they did finally demonetize Sssniperwolf's channels, but I believe that it was just temporary. I think it is back to being monetized. The last time I checked, I don't watch Sssniperwolf that much, only to ever check on this kind of stuff, and I did see that she was at least crediting the creators in the videos, like putting in big letters that the user at the very least. So at least this got something good out of it. At least the creators are now getting credit for their work. But yeah, again, slap on the wrist. All right, next on this tier is Nick Fuentes. This one is also very new. This one's only happened in the last couple of months. Nick Fuentes is not really a YouTuber or TikToker. He's a live streamer. He's active on X. Nick Fuentes is a very extreme right winger, and not just like I like Trump, or I honestly am so ignorant, I think Trump is going to solve all of our problems kind of thing. He is a Holocaust denier. He is a misogynist. He's homophobic. He's racist. He's an anti-Semite. He's a Christian. I put that in quotes because that's not what Christianity is about. Nationalist. Did I say white supremacist already? I think I did. He's a white supremacist too. And yeah, it's always projection though, isn't it? As we see time and time and time again. It's always projection. Oh yeah, he's also an incel. Like he really resonates with the incel community, which I don't know why you would admit that. That's embarrassing. So basically he's super pathetic and a super sad, lonely boy who obviously when he spews shit like this, it makes him feel better about himself because he's never been hugged in his life, I'm guessing. Like, I don't know. I'm not really sure what makes somebody so unbelievably hateful, but I can only deduce that it's because their life is just that pathetic. Like, they just have nothing else in their life. Why else would you be so desperate to relate to a group of people? It's giving male, just pearly things. Just that really, like, that desperate energy for somebody to accept them. You know what I mean? Anyway, none of those things are a crime in and of itself. Shitty belief systems is just free speech. That's not a crime. So he wouldn't be on this list if it wasn't for just what happened in December of 2024. So you know how after Trump won the election, this happened in 2016 too. After Trump wins the election, it makes all the misogynists and the white supremacists very comfy. They become very comfortable with spewing their violent rhetoric and their terrible things about not wanting other groups of people to exist. And on Twitter, one of his tweets went pretty viral because he did that tweet where he's literally just to incite anger. He made that tweet that said, "Your body, my choice," obviously referring to people who are anti-choice and pro taking women's rights away. But his address shortly after this was leaked online and people were going to his address. I think people were pranking him, like making fake deliveries to his house and stuff like that. But there was a woman that went to his house. I think another woman was like in the area as well that was kind of egging her on, but they went to go, I think, see if the delivery thing was true, like if people were really pranking him with deliveries. And they were kind of just like scoping out his house. But then one of them, like the one woman encourages the other woman to like go up to the door and ring the doorbell and go talk to him. And this woman does approach his door. She does go up to his front door, but she hadn't even rung the bell. She didn't have a weapon. She hadn't said anything as far as I know. She hadn't even rung the bell or knocked on the door. And Nick opens the door, pepper sprays her in the face, screams an expletive at her, and I think he even stole her phone. Like, he even grabbed her phone. Now, not condoning what this woman did. Don't do this. Don't go to somebody's house uninvited. That's just asking for disaster, especially in America where people are often trigger happy in a lot of areas. And so I'm not saying what this woman did was right, because even if she had gone and confronted him, there's no scenario where she would have changed his mind, come out on top, had a gotcha moment. There's nothing she could have said or done that would have changed this person in any way, shape, or form, or redeemed him in any way just by there's no talking to people like this. They're completely they're blacked out in their beliefs. They're literally blacked out. They cannot see anything beyond their tiny scope of the world. So it would have been very pointless. So I'm not saying do this. Don't do this, obviously. But the reason he did commit a crime. You just because somebody is on your property doesn't mean that you get to harm them or hurt them in any way. You have to, if in order to hurt somebody on your property, it has to be self-defense. You have to prove self-defense in some way. So if this woman was harassing him and wouldn't leave, or if she pulled a weapon out of her pocket and he pepper sprayed her for that, he probably wouldn't have gotten in trouble. But she hadn't even rung the door. And for all you know, like, it was a delivery person. What if that was an Amazon driver or a neighbor who was asking for a cup of flour? You know what I mean? And he just opens the door and pepper sprays whoever's at his front door. You know, I know that he knew that it was probably an internet troll, but you get the point, right? Is that she hadn't even done anything wrong at that point. So you can't just assault somebody for no reason just because they're on your property. That's not how it works. Hi, editing Hannah here, interjecting with a quick update. So a couple things. First of all these reports were saying that she never knocked on Nick's door or rung his doorbell or anything like that, that he just opened the door and just pepper sprayed her for no reason. That doesn't seem to be completely accurate, because if you watch the police video of them interviewing them both of them said in their interviews talking to police that she did knock on the door. So I'm going to show you this woman's side of the story in just a second, but she is talking to the police and she straight up tells them that she did ring the doorbell. And Nick Fuentes also says that she was knocking on the door. So it seems like the reports are not completely accurate on that front. I'm also going to show you this woman's interview with the police as well here, because it's interesting how much she minimizes her role in this whole thing. She definitely was trying to make it seem like she did absolutely nothing wrong here. And while Nick was definitely more in the wrong and he definitely committed the crime here, and I also understand where this woman's anger came from. Like, I can understand the urge to go and confront somebody like this, even though I don't think that's a good thing to do. It is interesting that she kind of minimalizes stuff with the police. So here you go.
Here because I live in Berwyn. I live on the south side.
Okay.
And I came to do a little video because my friends keep saying, you know, he lives near town.
Yeah.
So I went outside and did a little video. Ring and a friend, what's that?
In front of his house? Like,
Yes.
videotape his house?
On the sidewalk.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
And what was the reason for that, for videotaping his
because
house?
I wanted to show people that there was no, there were no, people are making claims that they're going to send deliveries to him of like dog poo and stuff. And I was showing there are no boxes of that there.
Okay.
And so a woman driving by said, ring his doorbell and say hello. So there are no signs on there saying anything about no solicitors, okay?
Okay.
So I rang the doorbell, immediately opened the door, sprayed me with pepper spray, and pushed me down the steps.
He sprayed you with pepper spray?
Yes, he did.
And it got in your eyes?
Yes.
I'm gonna call
All
an
my
ambulance.
face.
Okay.
So yeah, as you saw in that clip, not only did she confirm that she did ring his doorbell, but she also admits to filming his house and stuff. And then allegedly, according to rumors online, I can't confirm this 100%, but allegedly she was going through his mail too before all this happened, which is just objectively creepy. As much as I don't like Nick Fuentes, I don't think anybody can argue that that's an okay thing to do, no matter who it is. That is so creepy. If you looked out your window and somebody was going through your mailbox, that's creepy. That is weird behavior. And she conveniently left that out of the equation. She conveniently leaves out all this other stuff that out of the equation to the police. So I just think that this woman was definitely in the wrong as well, and just kind of dumb for like going there in the first place. I don't know what she was thinking. I personally believe, my personal opinion is that she wanted to get a rise out of Nick so she could get a viral social media video, or she wanted to get him to come out of his house and start to yell at her so she could get some sort of reaction for a good viral video, and instead she got assaulted. I'm not positive. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I just want to be super clear that just because I don't like Nick doesn't mean that I think that this woman is totally innocent and that there's nothing wrong with what she did, because she did pretty much the opposite of what anybody should do in this situation. Like, I do understand the anger. I really do. It's just, this is not the way to go about it. And yeah. So the other really interesting thing is that Nick also was calling the police apparently on these women, but he had been calling the police to try to get them to come to his house because he was doxxed. So there was a lot of people right out of his house, you know, which he obviously was intimidated by. And he was claiming that the police didn't care and they would just drive by. And so I'm going to play you that recording right now. Here you go.
So these two people are outside my house, filming my house. I called the police earlier. They drove by. They saw it going on. They drove right past. They're marching around on my sidewalk. They came up to the door. I pushed her down the steps because she's banging on my door, filming my house. People are saying they're going to come and kill me. So someone needs to come out here.
Okay, I'll have him on the way. What's your name?
It's Nick Fuentes.
Okay. And then is it a male and a female, or two males?
It's two females.
Two females. Are they black, white, or Hispanic?
They're
Both are. Do you know what they're wearing?
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't get a good look.
Okay. All right, I'll have him on the way, okay?
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, so notice in this call, he says that he pushed this woman down the stairs. He admits to that on the phone call. But then when he's talking to the police later, he's like, no comment. I just want a lawyer. I'll take your card and my lawyer will call you. And like, he thinks he's being so clever and everything. I'll show you that clip here.
4010-340 at 1446.
No comment on that.
No comment.
Did you pepper spray her or anything?
No comment.
10-4.
Could you give me your card?
I don't have a card, but let me get your ID.
Okay. You don't have a card?
No, I don't have a card.
Do you have a card? No? You don't carry cards?
Nope.
Interesting.
And he's just, it's so, I don't know why I find this so entertaining and so hilarious, but he's like trying to be all smart and be like, I know my rights. He literally said that at one point in the video too. I know my rights. And like, he is like, I'm going to talk to a lawyer. And the police is so confused because they're like, I'm just trying to get your side of the story, man. Which I'm not saying Nick is wrong for wanting a lawyer. I do understand to not wanting to admit to committing a crime on the scene of that crime, like in all the adrenaline, like don't just start admitting to stuff. Like I do understand. I'm not saying it was wrong of him to get a lawyer, but it's just the fact that he told the dispatcher, he admitted to the dispatcher that he committed a crime, but then refused to say it to the police with their body cam footage on. That is so funny to me because it's like they have a recording of you saying it, Nick. What are you talking about? They have a recording, and not to mention they have a video of it, which I will show you here too. It's only like a second. There's not that much to it to like really prove, but they have a video of him committing this as well. And so the fact that he's like, no, I want to talk to my lawyer is just really funny to me because it's like documented that he did this. And I'm only saying allegedly a lot because Nick Fuentes just seems like a very vindictive person and I'm trying to cover my butt. So, okay. So yeah, all that to say, both parties were in the wrong here. I don't think this woman handled this correctly at all. I don't think she should have gone to Nick Fuentes' house at all. However, it doesn't matter because in the eyes of the law, Nick still committed a crime. So, okay, back to me. Anyway, so he got battery charges for that one. And because it was so recent, I don't think anything has like come out of it yet. I highly doubt he'll serve jail time for that. Like, let's be real. I highly doubt it. He might, again, get like a fine or community service or something like that. But I don't think we know yet. And this is, I guess, alleged. I guess this story is alleged because nothing has come out of it yet, or he hasn't like pleaded guilty or anything like that as of yet. But yeah, once again, leave white supremacists alone. Engaging with them just reinforces their beliefs because they just hate you even more. It helps nobody to engage with them whatsoever, and you're not going to change their minds. Like, you're just not. There's just, you know, focus your efforts on political activism, peaceful protests. Use your social media for awareness, for political positivity. You know what I mean? Like, use that effort in that. You're never going to change a white supremacist's mind just by going up to them and confronting them. Okay, Tmartn and Prosyndicate is next. This is a fun one. These are YouTubers as well, Trevor Martin and Tom Cassell, also known as Tmartn and Prosyndicate. They started promoting this gambling site on their channels called CSGO Lotto, and especially Trevor, he like there's a clip of him pretending like he just stumbled upon this website.
Found this new site called CSGO Lotto.
So as you saw from that clip, he's literally saying like, oh, I just came across it and I won like $69, you guys. Like, how cool is that? And they started promoting this website, this gambling website. I guess technically there was a loophole saying it wasn't technically a gambling website because you could somehow play for free, but basically it was a gambling website, and they were promoting it to their audience, and they were, again, didn't mention the fact that they owned the site. They were president and vice president of CSGO Lotto. They would post all these videos of them winning money over and over on this site, which is super unethical because you obviously, behind the scenes, if you're the president of that company, you can rig it to show certain things on your video, to show you winning more money than you're losing, to make it look more appealing to your audience. So the audience thinks that they're going to win money, and then they go on it themselves, but they didn't mention that they were the owners. I believe, from what I understand, Prosyndicate did put sponsored by CSGO Lotto in his description, but again, did not disclose that he was an owner of the company. Now, you can't do this. This is major. This is FTC nightmare. You have... Let's not pretend like undisclosed ads don't run rampant on social media. Like, again, not to toot my own horn, but the right way to not get in trouble with the FTC is how I do my ads. So I put the paid promotion tag on in my video. So right when you click on it, you know that there's going to be a sponsor or that there's some sort of money making on my end from the video. I always verbally disclose that it's sponsored. I always say within 3 seconds of the name of the brand that it is sponsored by that brand. In my description, it says thank you to so-and-so for sponsoring. All of my boxes are checked. It is very crystal clear to anybody watching that I am being paid and I work with that brand in order to promote their products on my channel. But on TikTok especially, like, you know, we've been talking about Michaela Noguera in the space as well, of people just maybe putting a tiny like hashtag so-and-so partner or hashtag the brand name, but not actually saying sponsored by or actually putting the paid promotion tag on or anything like that. And that's deceiving. They do it on purpose because if a lot of people don't realize they're being paid to say those things, they're more likely to think that it is only a genuine recommendation without any sort of bias whatsoever. And so they're more likely to buy the products, more likely to get you repeat sponsors, more likely to get affiliate commissions, etc., etc. Like, it's very, very problematic not to disclose to your audience that you might have a bias from that product because you're being paid. Of course, everybody got very, very upset because it was very easy to find out that they own the company. Tmartn posted the worst apology ever, which I think goes down in history for one of the most like cliche apology videos because of the way that he like started it, you know, with the sigh and the showing the dog and the, oh, I feel so bad, yada, yada, yada.
Cooper, I have no idea how I'm gonna record this video, dude. All right, guys.
And then he tries to minimize the whole thing in his apology. His main thing was like, it was always public knowledge that we owned this company. It's publicly on the website that we own it.
Now, my connection to CSGO Lotto has been a matter of public record since the company was first organized in December of 2015.
I found this new site called CSGO Lotto.
And like, yeah, that's still not the same thing as disclosing that you're sponsored by that or that you are benefiting by promoting that brand. That you still can't do that, my guy. That is not the same thing as disclosing a sponsorship. Just because it's public that you guys own the company, it's not public knowledge. So shady, so unethical. Nowadays, honestly, you guys, unless somebody specifically says, I am not sponsored by this brand, I am not sponsored, I have no affiliate link, like unless they specifically say that, assume that if a brand is being shouted out, it is either sponsored or at the very least an affiliate link. Just assume, because there's so many shady sponsorships now. There's even some brands that are kind of shady about it. And again, I have to be careful about that. Like, I don't want to work with brands that kind of want me to skirt around stuff like that or try not to make it as obvious that it's sponsored. That's sorry, nope, that's shady to me, won't work with ya. Anyway, I put this in the menace to society instead of the scammer category because this just wasn't quite a scam. Like, it was scammy-ish, but it just was more of something greedy, selfish, and they lied. They're liars. And this was definitely very greedy. It was very dishonest. It was technically a crime because they went against FTC guidelines by not disclosing the sponsor. However, I think they did get away with this. I saw somebody say on Reddit that they got away with this from a loophole because you could technically gamble on this website for free. Like, there was a way to play for free without putting your own money in, so it technically wasn't a gambling site. But I still don't see how that makes it any better when they didn't disclose that they owned the company to their audience. That is still against FTC guidelines to hide sponsorships like that. So in my opinion, still super shady and illegal, but just like not quite a blatant scam, just very dishonest and greedy. James Somerton is next. Oh, James Somerton, you poor soul, you. This is another great example of what not to do when you're stuck in a controversy. In December of 2023, H Bomber Guy here on YouTube, very well-known YouTuber, as well as Todd in the Shadows here on YouTube, made videos exposing James Somerton. The most damning things that they exposed in these videos was James Somerton blatantly plagiarizing for his video essays. So making these high quality, great video essays with great insights, but literally reading off some people's books or works. And even worse, it was often people in the queer community. James is in the queer community and would often be like an advocate for that, or he would boast himself as an advocate for that. But then at the same time, he was stealing other people who are in the queer community's works and reading it off verbatim in his videos. I remember watching the H-Bomber guy's video, and it was very well done, very fascinating, and just, yeah, you done fucked up there, James. The plagiarism, that's illegal. That's a crime in itself. But something else that a lot of people don't talk about, again, he almost made it on the scam tier for this because allegedly, possibly, he committed a Patreon scam. So one day he tells his audience that he just lost 50% of his Patreons overnight, which it's suspected that if this did happen, it was a glitch and he panicked without contacting Patreon and asking them what happened. But a lot of people don't. Given his history and given what he's done, it is thought by many that he just straight up lied and claimed that he lost all these Patreons and then basically told his audience that I can't afford to keep making videos if you don't subscribe to my Patreon because I need the monthly money in order to get it, even though I know James was taking sponsorships. So because of that, in one day, he got like 1,200 people to sign up for his Patreon, which unless they're on the $1 tier, which I doubt that they were, they had to have been, you usually have a few dollars at the very least. He got a couple thousand extra dollars a month just from this one day alone from doing this little Patreon stunt. But people started finding it suspicious when he suddenly had very expensive new camera equipment in the next video after this Patreon thing went down, like an $8,000 camera, which is just a weird thing to buy if you're in a tough financial spot. The camera I used was $600, I think. And I am not in a tough financial spot, fortunately. So it's just weird that that's what he did right after saying, like, I can't afford to keep making videos without more Patreon support. And he bought this really expensive equipment. And then the other weird thing was that James never showed the numbers, which is why a lot of people think if it wasn't a glitch, he was just lying, allegedly, because we have all those numbers on Patreon. You could easily show proof to your audience that you lost 50% of your patrons overnight. You could easily show proof of that and receipts for your audience to feel more validated in joining your Patreon to help you in this supposed tough spot. So again, I don't really think that's illegal though. I think the plagiarism, I think that's why I put him in this tier, because the plagiarism is really what was illegal. And then this almost also made it in the top tier, the petty crimes. I actually moved him from the first tier to the second tier because I do think he's more of a menace to society, because then he went on, he tried making apology videos that were not received well, because again, they were not good apologies. And yes, there is such thing as a good apology. And contrary to popular belief, where people don't think that there's any apology that could be effective online, no matter what people say, there is actually. It's just that YouTubers try so hard to play the victim and so hard to deflect and minimize instead of really taking accountability. I think a good example of an apology is Jenna Marbles, because Jenna Marbles, I mean, as you guys know, most people believe that Jenna Marbles' apology was legitimate. I'm not accepting her apology because I know that that was people of color, was what the apology was to. So I'm not accepting on her behalf. But I'm just saying objectively, many people see that as a good apology because she seems actually remorseful. She doesn't make excuses. She's specific. She showed in that video specifically what videos she was ashamed of making in the past and why it was wrong and why it was shitty of her to do. That's a huge thing that people don't do. They often are vague, or they say like, I've been accused of awful things, Colleen Ballinger, or like, oh, I've just like all this stuff, or like, oh, I don't know, or Cody Co. Like, we'll get to both of those later in this series, but like, oh, I don't blame you if you guys don't like me anymore. And they don't tell you what they actually did because they're hoping that people that hadn't heard about it wouldn't bother going to look it up and stuff. And actually taking accountability basically acknowledging the impact. Mickey Atkins has a great video on what makes a good apology. If you guys want to go check out their video. If you guys don't know, also full disclosure, I'm biased because Mickey is one of my best friends in real life, but I do honestly like unironically watch their content all the time because I actually just enjoy Mickey's content. But Mickey has a great video on what actually does make an effective apology and what is good, and has like graphics for what makes it good. And so also acknowledging the impact regardless of your intent, action for going forward, and how you're going to fix it going forward. And the most important part of an apology, in my opinion, is that it's not about you. It's about the impact you had regardless of your intentions. And people are going to be a lot more receptive if you acknowledge the fact that what you did was shitty, and that even if maybe you don't see yourself as a horrible person or you didn't mean to, you realize that the impact and the implications of what you did hurt people. Anyway, James did none of that. He deflects, he makes all the excuses and everything like that. I think he donated money, I believe, which is good. But what really pushed it over the edge is that he disappeared from YouTube, posted a suicide note on Twitter implying that he was going to unalive himself, disappeared in order to, again, allegedly make it look like he actually did it, and then he's fine. He did not. He's okay. We have heard from multiple reputable accounts that James Somerton is alive and well. He's trying to take off in other businesses since he got kind of what's the word? What is the word for being shunned from the internet? And it's really not a good look to fake an unaliving of yourself. The internet, the court of the internet does not take that well. They don't take that well, because not only is it making a mockery of people who actually do that or who have actually really attempted that, it's also very clearly manipulative and a ploy to get sympathy. We see this time and time again with YouTubers who make apologies and they imply that they've been in a really, really dark place, and acting like it's our responsibility as an audience to let go of any wrongdoing and any accountability because they're in a bad place mentally, which, I'm sorry, that's not how the world works. So all that to say is that he's not really a scammer. I don't think he's a perpetual scammer. He doesn't belong in that tier. I think he's more of a menace than just petty crimes that didn't actually hurt anybody. In the end, he did actually hurt people, and he hurt people in his fellow queer community. He hurt other LGBTQ plus people. I do think that James Somerton I think most people are redeemable in the end. I think James Somerton is also redeemable. It's just, I don't think he's the worst person in the world or anything like that. I think he could go on to redeem himself in his personal life, but I just don't think he belongs on the internet. I'm sorry, but if you plagiarize that blatantly once, twice, and he's done it over and over, people are never going to trust you again. And I just don't think that works well to be on the internet. Okay, so that was only 2 tiers, and yet this video was also still very, very long. So just wait till we get into the other tiers, you guys. This iceberg is going to get absolutely crazy as we go further down. As you can see, there is a lot more to come, and there is many much more dense tiers later down on this iceberg. This is, for lack of a better term, no pun intended, the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, I'm gonna end it there for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget our sponsor, Hungry Root. Don't forget the brand new merch, which is linked right down below if you would like to pick something up from there as well. And thank you guys so much for watching. Also, thank you, huge thank you to all the patrons that helped me with this iceberg, as well as just all my patrons in general. You guys are amazing. And special shout out to our newest top tiers, which we actually have a few this week. The first newest top tier is Natasha. Another new top tier is Liz and Nate. And last, our other newest top tier is Miranda Lawson. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll see you all in the next video. Okay, bye.
Mjöl från livets grottekvarn. Bullfest, bullfest hela dagen.